So one example of the application, if we know I think somebody said A V naught and delta t, is there an equation that has A V naught and delta t? And it's not V naught. I'm so used to using V naught on the interval. And that's actually the way your book writes the equations, but I had to make a distinction. Okay, A, VI, and delta t. Okay, is there an equation up here that has A, VI, and delta t? Well, we can eliminate the first equation as a possibility because it doesn't have A. We can eliminate the fourth equation because it doesn't have delta t. Now, let's see, we've got A, VI, and delta t here, and we've got A, VI, and delta t here. So, using the second equation, these three variables occur in this equation along with VF. The second equation has A, VI, delta t, and VF. So we can find VF. Okay? Now we can do one of two things. We can use this equation with A, VI, and delta t and find delta x, which would be rather straightforward. Or having found VF, we now have 4 of the 5 quantities. So we find an equation that has 3 of them, and that might be the first equation. So knowing VF, we'd have VF, VI, and delta t, and we could use this equation. Now if we do that, we're basing our solution on the solution we got from this equation for the original quantities. Which means that if we made an error here, we're going to make an error here. But we can always then check our consistency by plugging our the quantities that we have into these two equations and seeing if they give us consistent results. And if we messed up, they won't. Or we could just take our 3 quantities into this equation. We're going to have to square delta t, but other than that, it's about as easy to use as the other. Okay, so we could, having used the second equation to find VF, we could use the first to find delta x, or use the third with our original quantities, because the third was a possibility from the very beginning. Okay, well, once more, anytime you know 3 of these, you can find an equation that allows you to find at least one other. And then having found that, you'll know 4 of them. So you just find an equation that has the one you don't know and solve for it. The one exception, you really don't want to try to solve this third equation for delta t if you can help it. And you can pretty much always help it by going to the fourth equation first. Okay? So just a little advice on how to use these relationships. Your textbook will have a V naught instead of a VI. And I think the rest of the notation. It might use just plain old V for VF. But with the definition that V naught is the velocity at t equals 0, that's not real compatible with the way these equations are often written. So that's why I used the VI here. As long as you understand that, you can use either equations either way you want. Now there's a much easier way to derive these equations, and that's done here, so we'll address that.